Welcome, my friends, back to Beyond the Well, where forgotten histories and untold legends awaken. I never expected to find that well, hidden deep in the woods behind my house. But when I touched its sacred water, I saw more than my own reflection. I saw another world. A world shaped by light and shadow, by heroes and tyrants, by choices that still echo through time. Join me as I uncover the stories of Aldarion that lie beyond the well. The Ballad of Nalen Myrris, Episode 6, The Well Within. Morning in the glade was a beautiful thing. Birdsong drifted softly through the veil of mist that clung to the trees and wrapped the small cottage in a kind of reverent stillness. Dew glistened on the tall grass like scattered pearls. The fire inside the hearth was still glowing faintly from the night before, casting a warm hush over the room. Nalen had been so exhausted from his experience the day before that Maia had given him a hot bowl of soup and showed him to a soft down mattress, where he had fallen into a sleep almost immediately. He sat up, initially unsure of where he was. His surroundings were a small private room, just big enough for a bed and a small chest where his belongings had been washed and neatly folded. His loot was in its case, leaning in the corner of the small room. Nalen sat up and stretched while yawning. He pulled on his clothes, opened the door, and was met with a heavenly aroma of freshly baked bread and bacon sizzling on the stove. "Good morning," Maia said, and invited him to sit at the worn but clean wooden table. Across from him, Seraphina was hunched over a piece of parchment. Her blonde hair, still tangled from sleep, hung like a curtain as she drew. The charcoal moved absently in her hand, guided more by instinct than focus. Circles, loops, then a figure dark looming. She paused, rubbed it out, and started again. Maia sat between them, calm as always, her shawl loosely draped around her shoulders. The mug in her hand was chipped at the rim, but she held it as if it were the most precious thing in the world. She took a sip, and then, without looking up, spoke in a tone as gentle as the wind through birch leaves. She took a few minutes and introduced Nalen, explaining briefly where he had come from. Seraphina smiled wide and said in a pleasant and sweet voice, "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Myrris." "Oh, no, lass, please call me Nalen, and the pleasure is all mine." He glanced at her charcoal picture. "That sure looks nice. Can you tell me about it?" His voice was soft and inviting, but she cocked her head when she heard his accent and looked at Maia. "Why does his voice sound so funny?" "Oh, honey, he's from the south. They speak our language, but it just sounds a little different." She giggled. "I like it. It sounds funny." Nalen couldn't help but laugh in spite of himself. He felt the genuine energy and kind personality she emitted. "Yes, dear," Maia said, smiling and kneeling down next to her. "I believe he can help," she added encouragingly. That comment caught her a little off guard, and the smile disappeared, and she glanced out the window at the well. There are bad things in there. I don't want to go there." Maia nodded. "And you absolutely don't have to, my dear. But I do want you to know something, and this is very important." She knelt down in front of Seraphina and took her small hands in her own. "You are, without doubt, for sure and for certain, 100% stronger than anything you will find in that well." Seraphina looked up at that point and had a glint of fierce determination. "There you are," Maia smiled. "My dear, it is also important for you to know that whatever you find in the well is tailored just for you. It is in fact part of you. At least in some sense, part of what you have experienced." Then she glanced at Nalen. "And the same could be said for Mr. Myrris here, or anybody who looks in the well. It is in essence a reflection of an infinite amount of yous. Every moment, every future is held within the well. It offers you the ability to see it, and if you choose, to interact with it." She paused and looked over at Nalen. "Now, Mr. Myrris, Nalen here, has offered to go to the well." I did," Nalen stuttered, but Maia looked up him and smiled encouragingly. Of course, he is welcome to take his time, and it's always up to each individual whether or not to enter the well. Yes, of course, I would go in first, my wee lass, Nalen said, turning to Seraphina, who heard his accent and started to giggle again. The look on Nalen's face was one of shock mixed with desire to help, poured over a healthy amount of anxiety. Maia chuckled heartily and followed them out the front door. Maia turned and looked at Nalen and said, Now this is important. When you get into the well, you will see people you know. They can be from the past, present, or the future. We will only be watching them unless you decide to interact. Nalen nodded, the anxiety clearly written across his face. I will be there with you, my friend, Maia said, taking his hand. Do not fear. I will give you a little pattern, something to think about once you're in the well, and it will help you turn anything you find inside into something that will actually make you stronger. She turned and looked both of them in the eyes, nodding. Whatever you encounter, she said, her voice taking on a tone of authority, you need to call it by name. You need to clearly identify it out loud. That way there's no mistaking who it is and who you are. Next, you need to tell that whatever it is you're coming in contact with, that you have love in your heart and a desire to find peace and become centered and whole. Nalen was taken back by this as he thought back to his brief experience the day before when he saw the Morwyn clan mistreating his friends. Maia, what if these people are bad? Why would I want to offer love or peace to them? They certainly don't deserve it. She nodded. Let me ask you, do you want to find peace? To be free of their hold in your head and in your heart? Nalen nodded but looked confused. You needn't worry about what will or won't happen to them outside of the well, here in the real world. Just trust that Elion is powerful enough to work through all that. All you need to worry about is you. She nodded again. If you approach whatever comes, at least with a desire to find peace and become centered, as well as still, you will find the well has the power to give it to you. If you desire retribution, hate, or hurt, I'm afraid that too the well will give you. Nalen seemed to understand. She leaned in and said, You will become what you seek, my friend. Nalen took a deep breath. Okay, so call whoever or whatever by name, tell them who I am, tell them that I am there to find wholeness and peace. Good, Maia said. Then you need to tell them all the things that have hurt you, that were wrong of them, that they did to you. Take as long as you'd like, but again, it's imperative that you list these things. That won't be a problem, Nalen said in a low voice. Yes, Maia said with caution. Yes, then comes the last step, and perhaps the most important of all. Both Nalen and Seraphina leaned forward almost imperceptibly. You tell that person they no longer have power over you. That's it? Nalen said incredulously. But that doesn't seem to make sense. What if they do have power over you? Nalen, my dear friend, listen carefully. Every problem you ever come in contact with must first be conquered in your mind. That is where the real battle is. Once you have that squared away, the rest will figure itself out. Nalen's mind was racing. Then he shrugged his shoulders. Okay, old woman, if you say so. I don't understand, but I'm willing to try. The grass bowed gently in the breeze, and the birds flitted from branch to branch as they sensed something was about to begin. Nalen walked up and stood near the edge of the well. The moss beneath his boots was damp and springy. The stone ring was ancient, its carvings worn down by time, but the pull of it, the very presence, remained undeniable. He looked into the water. The surface shimmered with light that didn't match the sky, a flicker of silver, then violet. The Nexus was stirring like a thing breathing just beneath the surface. Nalen turned and said, Seraphina, you don't have to, but if you'd like, you can come and watch. It's up to you. She was halfway behind Maia, hugging the older woman's arm, but his voice, soft, sincere, found something in her, She hesitated, then nodded once. She walked up and took a hold of his hand and squeezed. I will be next to you, my friend, even if it gets scary. Maya stepped close and gave Seraphina's shoulder a squeeze. Just watch, dear. Nothing more. Nalen and I will be there. Nalen knelt. He felt the cold before he even touched it. The air above the well shifted, thicker, slower, like moving through memory. Then, as if 1,000 strings pulled at once, the water rose, not up, but around him, and the world vanished. The sun over the Myrris estate shone bright through the stained-glass windows, scattering rainbow patterns along a stone corridor. Footsteps echoed, his own. He saw himself as a small boy, 10 years old, maybe 11, his lute clutched tightly in his hands. It was his first lute. His mom had told him if he saved his money, she would help him pay for it. And he had. And it made him so proud to have helped earn something that he felt was so special. He played it until his fingers blistered. But now, in this memory, his hands were shaking, trembling, in fact.
"Nalen," his father's voice boomed. "I told you before I left. I wanted your sword lessons to come first."
The voice was cold and precise.
"And what do I find? You wasting your time with peasant toys. The battle master has conditioning, riding, lifting, sparring lessons set for you. Why is it you're not out mastering those things, lad?"
Nalen was visibly shaking.
"Stop quivering," Thorian growled, "or I'll show you something to be scared of. Maybe then you'll put away these peasant toys and start to be a man."
His hand lashed out and grabbed the lute from his hands.
"No!"
young Nalen cried.
"Please, Papa, I've been practicing." "Have you? That's not what I've heard. Sword Master Horden says otherwise. I didn't believe it, but when I came to the house, what do I see? You, wasting your time on this pointless, weak..."
He waved the lute in the air as he tried to come up with some name that obviously had eluded him.
"This ridiculous thing."
And in frustration, his grip on the body of the small lute cracked, then crushed the thin wood. Young Nalen cried out and fell to his knees. Old Nalen felt the same crushing weight hit him like a ton of bricks. The same rush of pain, of hurt, of vulnerability, and then straight-up fear as he saw Thorian move toward the little guy on the floor. At this point, Maya leaned into Nalen, who was visibly shaking, and she said, "Nalen, you are stronger than anything you find in this memory. You can help that little boy. You can rescue him. You are more powerful than your father."
"Get up, you little weakling, get up!"
Little Nalen sprang up and began to run, right into older Nalen. He knelt down and picked up little Nalen.
"Hey, little buddy, it's okay. I'm here with you. You'll be alright."
Nalen's voice was strong, and the little guy felt the love older Nalen had for him. Still trembling, he clung to this older and stronger person. Thorian instantly recognized the older Nalen and straightened.
"So, you're all grown up now, and still weak, still unable to see where strength is and how to wield it."
Nalen felt the attack, and his heart faltered as he thought of what had happened with the Mordwings.
"You weren't even strong enough to hold your own home down. You ran in fear."
He motioned at the little boy in his arms.
"Still the small, trembling creature, running."
Maya whispered, "Remember the pattern." The sound of her voice and touch of her hand gave him courage.
No,
he said simply, and Thorian stopped.
"No, what do you mean? You're nothing. You haven't changed a bit. You're still weak, still yielding and soft. You disgust me."
"I am Nalen Myrris. You are my father, and I have come to find peace."
"Peace?"
Thorian boomed.
"You?"
"I wasn't finished talking," Nalen cut in. "I have a few things I'm going to tell you, Father. You never saw me for who I am, but I am strong.
ways invisible to your eyes. I am determined. I work hard. I care for those around me. I've been wronged, cheated, stole from, betrayed by those closest who should have been there for me to love and support. You gave your heart and mind and will to those who hated and betrayed me. You are abusive and hurtful. Your wars and conquests are always more important than your own son. Now Nalen was glowing, his chest heaving as he recounted the list of the many, many wrongs Aldarion had inflicted on him. For many, many years, Father, these things have held me down, pushed me into becoming something less than I really am. But not anymore. I will not let the worst parts of you continue to destroy me or this little boy. He motioned to Nalen in his arms. I got you, little buddy. Nothing to fear. Lies! Aldarion boomed. I will always be there, boy. In your heart and in your head. I will always be there to remind you how weak and submissive you are. You let my empire die in the hands of traitors. The words sunk in deep, and Nalen recoiled. He did feel that weight. All the stories from his head that he had had since he could remember came streaming back and shoved their way forward. He began to shake. He began to doubt. Nalen, you are stronger. He doesn't have the power. Just what you give him, Maya urged. But he's right. I am weak. I did let those things happen. I did run. How can these awful things help? He fell to his knees and Aldarion boomed a loud laugh. Maya knelt beside him. Here is the key, my friend. You take these horrible things and you turn them to wisdom. You learn, you grow because of them. He felt a light enter his heart as she said the words, then felt the presence of something more, but he couldn't quite put his finger on it. The greatest wisdom, the greatest strength, and the greatest and strongest character comes from the hardest trials. That is why you will always be stronger. Something in Nalen clicked. He stood up and handed the little boy to Maya, then turned and faced his father. You don't have power over me anymore. Not here, not in my dreams, nor in the waking light of day. Aldarion laughed again. Right, you keep telling yourself that. I will, actually. I am the one who'll determine where and how my life will go. No more will you haunt me mind. Impossible. You're weak, soft, and yielding, unable to... Nope. Not going to happen, Father. And now that I see you for what you really are, and how I can be different than you, how I want to be the best I can to those around me in a way you never were, I see it as clear as the light of day, the path of love, of service, of small and simple things. And yes, this will all move around music. His words held no hate nor malice. What? You heard me, Father. Nalen took a deep and satisfying breath and felt a massive weight drop off his shoulders. He felt something, a breath, a warmth, something from behind. He turned around, and there, behind Maya, was a massive feathered dragon, white and beautiful, with crystal blue eyes that pierced him to his very center. He fell to his knees. Aldarion, he whispered. Lord, Master of the Skies. Nalen, I know you. I am with you. The dragon's voice thrummed through the well, not with anger, but with something deeper, something ancient, compassion and strength, the most secure and solid foundation that Nalen had ever felt in his entire life. Nalen, the voice rumbled gently. You have wrestled with darkness inside of you, and you have not been overcome. Tears blurred Nalen's vision. He fell to his knees before the mighty being, feeling both smaller and more like himself than he ever had before.
The love and the acceptance that radiated from this giant and magnificent creature saturated his soul completely. "But I am so weak," he confessed. "I have failed. I have hated. I've let anger rule me, no better than those who betrayed me." A rumble came from deep within the dragon. It lowered its great head, its breath warm and sweet like a summer wind. "It is not your failings that define you, child of light. It is what you choose to do with them. It is where you choose to focus yourself. Strength is not found in perfection, but in the courage to rise, broken, and walk forward anyway." Nalen clenched his fists against the grass, grounding himself. "I don't want to be ruled by the past anymore. I want to be free." "Then claim your burden," the dragon said. "Not as a chain, but as a badge. Carry your suffering not with shame, but with wisdom. Integrate it into yourself. Let it temper you, not embitter you. I will carry it with you." At that, Nalen looked up into those crystal clear and piercing blue eyes. The words rang deep in his mind like the tolling of a great bell. Claim your suffering. Face it. Own it. Do not deny it. Do not bury it. Do not drown in it. Carry it. And somehow in that moment, he saw it. The truth. The hurt he bore, the loss, the betrayal, the rejection was not an indictment against him. It was his forge. His trials were not proof of weakness, but invitations to become stronger, deeper, truer, his truest self. He rose slowly to his feet. He turned once more to the image of his father, who still stood towering and scowling in a field of memory. "Father, I forgive you," he said softly. Surprisingly, the words cost him nothing. They freed him. "I will no longer carry your chains. I will carry your memory, not as a curse, but as a teacher. I will become a man of mercy, because I have seen and I have learned what the alternative is." Thorion's image wavered as if a great wind was tearing it apart. He roared in protest, but there was no more power in his voice, only the echo of something dead and dying. Nalen turned back to the feathered dragon. "I am ready," he said. "Then rise, seer of light. Nazir," the dragon said, its blue eyes gleaming like twin stars. "Rise and carry your light into the darkness. Others will need it. One already does." Nalen followed the dragon's gaze. There, at the far edge of the well's vision, stood a small figure, half shrouded in mist. Seraphina. She was alone. She hugged herself, looking lost. And in the shadows behind her, dark shapes waited, watching, whispering. Fear prickled Nalen's spine, but it wasn't the old fear. It wasn't the helplessness of a child. It was a warrior's vigilance, a protector's heart awakening. He placed a hand over his chest, right where the warmth of Elion still pulsed. "I will not fail her," he promised. The dragon bowed its head once more, and then, with a rush of wind and a burst of light, Nalen was lifted from the well. The glade shimmered back in focus. The sound of bird song returned, and the scent of moss and cedar filled his lungs. He was kneeling by the well, Maia next to him, Seraphina's hand still clutching his sleeve. For a long moment, none of them spoke. The air was heavy with the weight of what had passed. Finally, Maia broke the silence, her voice gentle. "You, my friend, did well." Nalen exhaled a long, shaky breath. It was more real than I thought it ever would be." She nodded. "The mind holds wounds tighter than the flesh does, but now you've begun to tend yours." Nalen looked at his hands, feeling the strange new steadiness there. He glanced at Seraphina, who was watching him with eyes wide and cautious. "She saw, didn't she?" Nalen whispered. Maia followed his gaze. She saw more than you know, and what you did today will matter more to her journey than you can imagine.
But I don't think she's ready yet, is she? Nalen asked quietly.
Maya shook her head, her silver braid catching in the sun.
No, she carries wounds so deep she doesn't even know their names yet. Her mind still shields her out of mercy. I'll be here, he said simply, when she's ready.
Maya smiled, pride and sorrow mingling in her eyes.
You are becoming exactly what the world needs, Nalen Myrris.
He glanced back at the well. The ancient stone seemed to hum with approval, the moss whispering in the breeze. And for the first time in a long while, Nalen didn't feel like he was running anymore. He was standing at the edge of something vast and beautiful, and he was ready to step forward. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for coming with me beyond the well. If you enjoyed this story, please consider liking, following, or subscribing. And if you have a moment, I would love a review. Your feedback truly makes a difference. If you want to dive deeper into the well, visit beyondthewell.net for show notes, transcripts, maps, character descriptions, and much, much more. And until next time, keep seeking, keep dreaming, and keep telling your story. Bye.